All right, we're gonna play this. Marvin.
Marvin.
Well, welcome to the first and premier edition of the Generational Experience. My name is Carl Condello. I'm here with Rodney and Bill. We're about 2 months past the one we wanted to do this, but hey, as they say, better late than never. And I just want to just thank us for everything that we've done putting this together, and really going to be enjoying this, our first one, for about 45 minutes. And the reason why we're here in the first place is about 3-4 months ago. Well, actually, back in 1984, I did a TV show back in the Philadelphia area called California East, an under 21 club. And we had a segment there with breakdancers. And it seems that Rodney, that was part of that crew, and for all these years that have gone by, never was able to actually see a clip of that particular day. And through his daughter, after his wondering, in this new age, can I find anywhere on the internet that still has this, and found my site and called me. And I actually, when I got the call, like, nobody from Harrisburg that I know, is probably solicitor. And then you left a message, got back to you. We talked and had you go through to my YouTube page and see it, and hearing your just elation of hearing and watching that first clip. So, introduce you, Rodney. Introduce yourself to the masses, my friend.
Hello, everybody out there.
Sorry for the feedback, but we're going to get through this too. Continue.
Yeah, this is Rodney. Everybody knows me as Oz from back in the day of the New City Breakers. And back in 1982, 1983, we put together a group. And not knowing how popular this group would become. So we traveled amongst everybody. Then we discovered a place called the California East. So as we went there and performed the first time, we got interviewed by the owner of the establishment at the time, and he was captivated by what we were doing. So he asked us, could we come? And I said, well, sure. He was like, well, we're having it on a show. Now, this show, unbeknownst to me, I didn't know anything about it. But so when we went to the show and performed, the fans was just going crazy.
So sorry for this feedback here, guys, but we're going to rectify that. But continue. Just maybe we'll be able to get that, but continue.
Yeah, anyhow, so as we were being approached by a lot of people, it became a part that people wanted to learn. So I began starting to want to teach people because they asked me, could I teach them? And we became even more popular from that. Then we went to other shows.
The New City Breakers here.
I'm just playing a little bit of audio from that particular one. Right now, I don't think we could go live with the actual video. But if anybody is watching and they're on our Facebook Generational Experience, this clip is on there. So if you can take a look at that, it's on there. And it just shows Roddy on the left as a 14-year-old getting down. Yeah, continue, Roddy.
Well, as the performance went on, people got to see that some of them guys that was on that particular clip, I had just taught, and it was like 2 weeks of training and teaching them. And they started picking it up as we went on. But that was the introduction to Oz and the New City Breakers to New Jersey.
And the world will never be the same.
Bill, hello there, Bill.
Bill Robinson.
Introduce yourself on how you're a part of this trio, this triangle of amazing people, how you got involved with this and how you're here tonight or today.
Well, I was doing some shopping for my barbecue biz. Rodney at the time in his at his job, so we had a conversation that ran on for a while. Talked about a number of things, and one of the things that came out was his involvement in what you guys just described in the New City Breakers and the introduction of hip hop and breakdancing from the New York area to the Jersey Philly area. I found that really interesting.
And we're getting some bad.
That's terrible.
Hey, Bill, is there any way you can maybe just sit next down to Rodney on that couch and just go with the one because we're getting that feedback?
Okay.
The audio is really getting feedback really bad. If we could just share that one, sit next to each other.
Why not? It's still doing it. Is that recording through your mic?
Well,
hey guys, you want to do this again? You want to do another one because that was just so bad audio wise, and I don't want the premiere one to be out there with all that. That's my thought. That's my thought.
No, it's okay. It's okay. We'll just keep.
Okay. Okay.
I'll just wait for Bill to arrive.
Well, yeah. So from that initial contact,
Yeah,
we talked and talked about podcasts, other things about life, understanding how music was a big part of everyone's life, especially mine, especially yours, especially Bill's. And then this is how we actually came up with a different name, and we won't go allude to that, putting this all together, how you said, hey, Carl, can't do this without you being here. So I'm actually in California, and I put one thing to another that, I can make this work. I can make the trip back there to the Philly, New Jersey area. And then we had a nice conversation, actually sat exactly where you guys are about 2 months ago and try to put this all together. And obviously we had a little other situation with another person we thought was going to technically be able to handle us, but we realized we had to move on to another direction, and here we are now. So let's continue. Now,
So
Bill, continue, Bill.
yeah. So we had a conversation. We had a couple of conversations,
This is good.
and sounds like my feedback's okay.
None.
Anyway, we started talking about, besides what Rodney had done, what Oz had done, was how it's interesting that all the generations have their own theme songs or sets of songs, and what it did was it pointed out to us the universality of music relative to each generation, before us, after us, throughout history, and the meaning, the weight, and the power that music has brought its message to the people. So part of what we thought to do in terms of this podcast was to address the way music has affected all of us everywhere throughout time, even from the beginning, as it was said that the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the water, and he said, let there be light, and the vibrations of his voice, the music of his sound created light, and here we are. So a lot of what we now do and see is exactly that, we've been talking about, songs like, for instance, the songs that you guys played on the intro, what's going on. In my generation, if you played that song at a party, all the women stood up and started dancing. Every generation I know of has a song that has that power. I had a conversation with a young fella. He had a different song, which I won't name now, but just the same. That's the basis of our relationship. So time went by. We missed each other a few times, and then finally we got together, started talking, and here we are doing this now.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And here we are now, and finally be able to do our first podcast. Hopefully we're doing everything technically okay. And I'm checking through, and I hope that we were being pushed to our Facebook page and our YouTube page, but we'll get back to that at another time. So now, here we are in 2023. Where do we want this podcast, the Generational Experience, to lead to? I know our friend Daryl, who's helping us, mentor us, and get through this, introduce you to a lot of veterans, and with you, give your military background, Rod. Give that little bit of background too, and how you're going to intertwine your experience, what you're doing with Daryl, into what we're doing with this podcast.
Well, being that I'm using the Generational Experience platform, not just as a podcast, but as a show, because as I use this to reach out to the veterans, I'm dealing with a veterans center, and me and the team, you included, we're dealing with the plights of what everyday veterans are going through: homelessness, mental illness, financial, whatever needs may be of these veterans. We're going to expose that, as well as give knowledge to it, in helping them become more productive citizens, instead of just being, thank you for your service, and going about your way. So I'm using that part as a platform. But I want to make sure that even though we have this podcast, and our foundation is on the music and how music affects everything in life, I also want to utilize this as to being an advocate, correct? Being an advocate and helping everybody, but speaking the truth and allowing that truth to become genuine for everybody in order for them to understand. And
Truth knocks down doors of deception. So we're looking to knock down the doors of deception. We're also looking to knock down the doors of exclusion by way of our advocacy for veterans as we sit right now, but others as we grow and find need. So
yeah, that's cool. And we're not gonna. And right now, we're being real nice and everything because we want the crowd to understand us. We want everybody worldwide that's listening to us. We're going to be any and everywhere. We're not going to be limited. We're going to make sure that we hit every single topic. This, I promise you guys. Everybody listening to the sound of my voice, we're going to be everywhere. And we're going to be there champion for everybody, no matter who you may be.
Step by step, issue at a time.
Well, it's going to be a good start. I know the world that we're living in is kind of crazy. I know we're going to get a lot of feedback, pro and con, but we're going to be that guiding light to bring us up because, I think we're here just how I have to get that little background that I actually was looking at my YouTube page that day, looking at the California East shows, and just saying to God a little prayer like, come on, it's just been sitting there dormant. Let somebody take a look at this. Let's come out. And then It was an hour later, I get the phone call from Rodney, and I go, wow, that was just not coincidence. That was divine. That came from there. And so if I would have been told beginning of January, well, you're going to meet a friend that I never really met that day, but then 40 years later, through happenstance, to go through that, and then actually make a trip back to meet you guys in that very room you're sitting in. So it is, we're going to be moving, and then we didn't worry about the little setback we had technically in the beginning because, we want to go into the details of it, but say, hey, we'll just move forward. We're not going to look back. We're going to create this on our own. So we changed the name to the Generational Experience because, I am almost 70, grew up in the 60s and 70s. Yes, the world was out of its mind. Assassinations, war, poverty, riots, everything. But the music was absolutely incredible.
Yes.
It was all inspiring. From
Yes.
the British invasion to the Motown to the California Dreamin' and all of that. So, and we're going to try to bring that up. And I think through Facebook Reels that I've done in the last 2 weeks brought some of the music back in and some of the Reels that I've done. And I know, Rodney, you're doing some of that too on your own.
Yes,
So
but I want Bill to talk about what music meant to him and his origins.
Bill, technically, if you could just lean up, come up a little bit on the edge of your seat, get a little bit closer there too, for visually and by the audio, that'd be good. There you go.
Well, I
Continue, buddy.
because my voice punches holes in microphones. I grew up in a musical family, and I mean, we covered everything from Little Richard to Pharoah Sanders to the Beatles to Joe Cocker, Mad Dogs and Englishmen. And
Mad Dogs and Englishmen, man, what a name out of the past.
We had it all. I mean, on days like today, summer days, we go up to the rec center and
where was this, in Philadelphia?
In Philly. I grew up in Philly, yeah.
Right. West Philly.
No. I grew up in North Philadelphia.
North Philly.
Ridge, 17th and Ridge, yep.
17th and Ridge.
Time was known, and it still is known as Francisville.
Gotcha.
We had a rec center up the street, which we would go up there, and the older guys would gather and bring their instruments. All of my uncles, which I had, how many uncles? I had 14 uncles. Most of them would come up with their instruments. They had congas or basses or guitars. My dad played a guitar and piano, and he sang. So they would get together and do an impromptu sit-in, while we were talking and, doing what guys do, sitting around and so forth. And that was how that was the background music to our play day at the rec center. And during that time we would have the opportunity to listen to a great many guys talk about their experiences and what they were facing in the world at those times. I came through similar times as you, Carl. I'm 62 right now, so I came in a little bit later. And when I was maturing, was going through the mid to late 70s. I was growing up. My parents had a hardware store in Germantown, Philadelphia, on Germantown Avenue called Hennings. So we had a great many days where we were listening to the older fellas, watching the business go on, that nature. But music was always central to our day. Just about everything we did had some sort of musical background playing. As I said, we had a musical family. My granddad, when any of the kids turned, 6 or 7, he would hand them an instrument, a musical instrument, and say, make a sound. If you can make a sound, that was the instrument you learned how to play.
I wish I met him, because my biggest frustration was back then. I had a guitar with my cousin at 13, 14 years old. And I actually had lessons, and but for some reason, I didn't have any patience within myself. I didn't sound like the Beatles immediately, and I gave it up. That was my biggest regret. I should
Okay.
have kept with it,
Yep.
played it, because I
Oh.
play a mean air bass and a mean mean air Rickenbacker like Lennon had, and like what Clapton had. That's my biggest regret, that I never really picked up an instrument and actually kept with it.
Well, the first instrument he gave me was a clarinet. And I actually, as a matter of fact, I still have a clarinet. I think I just gave it to my nephew. Anyway, I was able to make a sound. So I started learning the clarinet, but I had to give it up because playing a reeded instrument tickled my nose. So I would play a few notes and then I would sneeze. This is not a good note. So he gave me a trumpet. He gave me a C trumpet. Most trumpets are B flat. This one was a C. So it was, it played extra high. I played that trumpet. I still play it. I play that in brass bands, marching bands. We went to New York City and marched in the Bicentennial Day parades up there and in Philly. As you can tell, that was many years ago. But that is the basis for my love of music. Now, these days, I do vocals. I sing with a couple of bands. We just did a gig not too long ago. Maybe in another podcast, I'll put up some of the video that we recorded from that. I also sing for the Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of New Jersey, where we have affairs there. Sometimes I want to sing a song or two, just to, I guess, establish a theme. In any case, that is my basis. That is where I come from. And God willing, and the creek don't rise, that's where I'm going.
Yeah, we're all here for a reason. We all got together, and we're going to take this wave to wherever it's going to take us. And even though our board fell into the water, we picked ourselves up, and here we are 2 months later, finally on here. And I know we might have a little bit of technical knowledge we got to learn, but we're here.
And see, that's the point, because sometimes things aren't perfect in life. And
Sometimes.
All the time.
I'm trying to be generous. Life is life, but this is what it is. Since we're going to keep that, I don't want to deviate from it and try to make it perfect. Show the mistakes in our process of how we become better.
Because sooner or later, this echo will be from outside our doors as we speak to the world, and our voices echo back to us.
See, that's why I love him.
Say that again, Bill. I didn't catch it all. I didn't want to repeat that.
Let me say it again.
One of these days, this echo that we're hearing now, which is technical difficulties, will be from outside our doors, from the world echoing back at us that which we are saying here on this podcast.
Yeah, because we're saying truth. Truth will set you free. And no matter what all the other BS that's out there trying to influence people in other ways, I think in our own way, my way, your way, Rodney's way, we'll have people like it'll resonate with them and say,
That's the point of purpose here.
Yes, most definitely. And it's amazing with this technology now. I am 3 time zones and technically 2,785 miles from you guys. So I actually found your address, and from where I'm at to your address, 2,785 miles to your apartment in Mapleshade, which I know I was great to see there that time. It's crazy. It's only been 2 months already, but hey, well, I want to get to the point that this gets monetized and we can do things that I don't have to do cars in 100-degree heat anymore, and I'm sure.
What Carl just did was spook the basis. We can't talk about that too much, Carl. We're supposed to be esoteric and philosophical. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but we're going to be real too at the same time.
No doubt. Listen, I don't know if you can see me, but I like sandwiches, so I'm not gonna lie.
Oh yeah. Hey, look, I just did that reel of all the food with all the the steak sandwiches and the pork and all that. Like,
There you go.
and I cooked for my friends out here last 2 weeks ago for steak sandwich. And I couldn't find any bread. So hey, we'll get through it. So where do we go? Where do we go from here, guys? I think we're getting comfortable with this. We're 25 minutes into our premiere one. Where are we going to go? And the people that are going to see this, what's the number 2, number 3, episode 4, and up to 10? What are they going to be able to see in the future? What we're going to be able to do?
Well,
You'll be there.
okay. Well, we got some things on the pipeline. There's going to be a part 2 and a part 3 to this very one. All the other people that was involved with the California East, to all the people that I taught how to break dance, to them developing and building their groups, and then other people and their lives, and other people who built groups from by learning how to dance too. I'm going to have all of them come on the podcast, and we're going to talk. After that, we still dealing with this major topic of the plights of the veterans. That's a hot topic right now. And there's a whole bunch of things that we're doing. And I'm going to share something with you that the best way to explain what a homeless person is to go in that realm and be in the homeless community. So that's something coming up that we're working on. We're also working on, the gun violence and the mental health issues attributes to gun violence and violence in general. We're going to go to the cities and where all the problematic places are, and we're going to talk not just to the residents,
but to people that can make a difference.
Exactly.
People that can reach those people who need help.
Exactly.
Need our help. And try to connect some of the advocacy groups together that will allow us to address some of the problems that we hear on the news every day. The things that each of us wishes we could, by way of either philosophical reach or philanthropic reach, address ourselves. We have to point out that each of our generations has a responsibility to that generation that comes behind them to stamp down the grass in front of that person. We're busy blazing trails, but we have to remember the people that come behind us still need instruction, direction, protection. So we're going to address those questions in our society one step at a time. The same way we go down the path, one step at a time, one day at a time. No one that I'm aware of gets more than one day at a time.
Yes. And while you're listening there, I'm hoping that everybody that's listening to us worldwide will get a better understanding of, if we don't talk about it, it won't be brought to the light. We could sit here and do podcasts with girls shaking their butts and guys commenting on it, showing car crashes where everybody's all happy, talking this and that, just to get views and likes and all that. No, we're coming at you at a different level and a different angle. We're going to be on certain topics that's going to, light fires on both sides. But the main thing is we're going to stick to a truth. We're going to be neutral. We're going to talk to Democrats. We're going to talk to Republicans. We're going to talk to independents. We're going to be in all those realms.
And we're going to ask each of them to like, share, and subscribe.
And I think, Bill, some of our
and that's also important.
Yes,
that's also important.
And Bill, and I think when we've had our discussions before I even came out there to meet you guys, that we're on the same wavelength about the world in general, that everything where we're at right now was predestined by not a positive force in the world and is trying to influence people on the wrong way. And I think our message is to try to steer them into the correct way. And
I
with
would
Rodney,
say, Carl, I would say to magnify the positive. We are
yes,
to magnify the positive, steer them by the magnification of that which will help them.
yes,
You know,
because I woke up 30 years ago and remember everything that they were telling you about the world was not true. And that little, like 30 years before that, when my grandfather was still alive, and this was mid 60s, and he was an immigrant from Italy who realized when Mussolini was going crazy, I better get the heck out of here. And we were watching the evening news in the mid 60s, and it was over. He would just look at me and say, BS. I said, Pop, what do you mean, BS? It's like he knew from back then things were moving, letting people be influenced about things that really weren't there. So I think our podcast using music in there to show people that, hey, we have the proper message, and we believe that in our soul, in our DNA.
right.
And I think that'll get around to the people when they're finally looking at that. They're going to say, "Oh no, you guys are crazy." I said, "No, listen to us. Keep watching. As we go down there, and maybe we'll be able to influence some people." So here we are.
Right. One of the neat things about music is that in almost every case, somewhere within the music, someone applied love to generate what we see as music. So as we go forward and we use music, each of us will have at least something that this music resonates against and hopefully draws us to cooperate. Because when it's all said and done, the best and only way for us to move ourselves forward, the best and only way for us to magnify the positive is through understanding and cooperation. A lot of times it seems like we've lost our way. The trick then becomes those of you who see us faltering, give us a kind word and a whispered in the ear. Or if we see someone faltering, let us say, this is what we see, and this is maybe how we can help. But each of us has to take the responsibility to do those things.
The saddest things I've seen, like not being in the States or for as long as I have, to come here and to feel like an alien in my own land, in my own town, in my own city and borough. It's a weird dynamic, a weird concept.
I have to ask you why. Why do you feel that way?
No, because we used to be able to talk to each other. We used to be able to have conversations. Everybody in the neighborhood knew everybody. Everybody's kid could be with everybody's kid. I used to be able to walk into my neighbor's house and sit down, and they might cook me breakfast, lunch, or dinner. And now everybody's become isolationists. Everybody creates their own bubble. And it's my bubble. I don't want nobody near it to violate my bubble, my space. It's about me, instead of everybody was about love and unification and making sure that our children are safe. We didn't have guns in our communities. And these are the topics that we're going to be on. But when I was a kid and I got a problem with another kid, we would have a little circle and these were our guns.
A fair one. Emphasis on fair.
And yes, it was called a fair one. So, you knuckled up.
Mm-hmm.
After it was over, they pick you up, you dust yourself off. They say shake hands. You don't want to shake hands. I'll be back. Oh, well, then the circle will be waiting for you.
Everybody I ever had a fair one with.
We're friends to this day. I've had plenty of fair ones that me and these guys are still friends to this day. We're not enemies.
But see, that concept wasn't allowed today now. You're supposed to destroy and kill the other person. You can't. And I hate to say it, I have to bring back, it's something about what's going on over all of us that wants us to be at each other's throats, not to be at each other. And I have to put it this way. The ones that preach love and all that, what happened to them? Start with Marvin. Well, I'll start with John Lennon. Okay. Then, okay, he was killed. And I have to say, Marvin Gaye, another preacher, love. What's going on? Love is, war is not the answer. Okay, yeah, his father killed. I'm going to go to that extreme saying, hey, yes, things happen to these people, but what were they preaching? And once they eliminated these people that were preaching love, harmony, and all of that, I don't listen to anything in the last 15 years, the new artists out there, maybe, Taylor Swift or some of the other people are still positive, but majority of it, it's all not positive. And
So
it's
you
just like, real.
So to you, you're basically saying that it basically holds no meaning or validity.
Of anything. I mean, current music?
Yes.
Yes. Because I can't, I don't call it music. It's whatever. It's just, it's just noise. It doesn't resonate with me.
I hate to say this, but when people start discovering, there's a topic on rap music, but hip hop in general, they said it was noise, it wasn't going to last, but it's in everything.
Early hip hop, I loved. It still resonated with you.
See the history now. See, I can explain that.
I know you can.
Yes, the early history of music. Rap music has been out forever. Rap music goes all the way back to the 30s, to be honest with you.
Oh yeah.
True.
And my thing is that when we turned around and brought it into the inner cities, and people, one of the first raps that everybody was still talking about was "The Revolution Will Not Be Televised."
Gil Scott-Heron.
That's right.
And then
social commentary.
Exactly.
The bottle.
Then
Oh, yeah.
it just kept morphing, and then it went to Curtis Blow, but Curtis Blow was just in the cities, and he got a little notoriety. But the group that got notoriety was the Sugar Hill Gang.
Oh yeah.
The Sugar Hill Gang, when they came out, it was being played in discos, so it wasn't considered rap music. It was considered disco because it was only played in the discos because the discos dominated back in the 70s
and the 80s, man. I was there like wallpaper.
Okay, so now nobody knew
Emerald City.
Well, that used to be the old Latin casino.
But
it was the Coliseum. It was Ajante. It was Bleeps. It was all those places.
But see, as I was saying, nobody could understand who the Sugar Hill Gang was because they didn't know the name of the song. I mean, the name of the group was called the Sugar Hill Gang. So all they kept hearing was a hip hop, a hippie to the hippie, the hip hop. They kept hearing that. So people were going to the record stores saying, yo, what's the name of that hip hop song? And that's where they fused it together, calling it hip hop.
See that? Learn something new every day. I didn't know that.
Hip hop isn't a music. Hip hop is about culture. Hip hop is about fashion. Hip hop is about the way you carry yourself in everyday life. In New York, they utilized the word hip hop as being everything, not just music. It was graffiti art, breakdancing. It was everything, and that's why they called it hip hop, because they merged it with what the masses heard as far as calling that song the hip hop song, because that's what they were calling it instead of the Sugar Hill Gang.
Well, I thought it was interesting that I sent you that one about a month ago. Is right. Robert Plant, who was the head of Led Zeppelin, had that one song, and he had breakdancers, and that's one of the songs that I really like. I'm in the mood, but then I remember, oh my God, yeah, he had breakdancers, and I sent it to you.
Okay. I'll ask. I ask numerous people, and people will still don't understand. There was a first female rapper, and she wasn't considered a rapper. She was considered rock and roll, but she was still considered the first person that sang "You Ain't Nothing But a Hound Dog," and it wasn't Elvis Presley.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a cover for him,
I
right?
can't think of her name, but I'm going to Google it. And the next time I come on and talk to the masses, you will know her name. All you got to do is Google it. The first person that sang.
Let's ask those listeners if you know it. Type it in the comments.
Type it into the comments if you know who that female was. That
guys, I think technically, I don't think we're streaming to either one. I think we're recording that we can send out.
Yes,
but
even though, still comment.
Correct.
But anyhow, she was considered the first. But it wasn't until the late 70s, early 80s, where the first female rapper came out, and a lot of people didn't know that it was Blondie.
Yep.
So
Rapture.
Exactly. So when Rapture came out, it was just killing the disco. So when disco faded out, she was still on, she was still there, but she wasn't considered rap then because everybody vibed to what she was saying. But her song ended up being used and DJs mixed it into another song where KRS-One used the Rapture song, Step Into My World. But anyhow, when people talk about hip hop isn't music. Hip hop is about everything. So as we talk more about other things, you'll get to understand, people will get to understand more about the music of everything, because that's the music I knew. But don't get me wrong. I mean, I was at a house at a time when my family had the radio, and the radio was very massive.
Like that one on the wall behind you.
it was very massive.
And Master G, the Hill Gang.
Hold on.
Okay.
You hear it?
Yes.
Phenomenal. You can hear it?
Yes, I
Days,
can.
Man.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is 1980, and I remember, to the clubs with this song.
And like I said, that was considered disco.
Oh yeah, and the Zoom and all that.
Yeah,
Now,
man.
see, I think the way we're going to be able to do this, I could have my laptop behind it, bring up a song, and we can hear it, because you can hear it pretty good, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll learn a few tricks though between now and.
Oh, I know. And here's one that is, I don't know, I was listening to the other day, and I said we just have to have this about. Now, this was a Philly gang, a Philly group, and I wonder if his name would be allowed today in today's world. And just let me know what you think of the song.
Don't say Double Dutch Bros.
All right, why am I not getting any sound with it? Okay, talk amongst yourselves as I cue this up, guys.
Who's that there? What's wrong with the DJ?
I know. Hey, I'm off my mark here.
Fingers.
I'm not getting any sound. I know I get booed off the stage right now. But no, it's
there's a shoe coming your way.
Yeah, it'll be here. It'll take a while to get here, though.
Oh my goodness.
I'm trying to play Fat Larry's band.
Oh wow.
Zoom.
Fat Larry lived right around the corner from me.
Yeah. Oh my God. Now, would he allow to have that name for a group now? Fat Larry's band? That would be disrespectful.
Yeah, you would think the snowflakes would be a little upset, I think.
Oh yeah. Here we go. I think this is so unbelievable. I'd love to do an interpretive video of this. Oh my God. It's like, and this is the way you romance the lady. You slow dance her.
Well,
that was something that
well,
we did.
that was-
a
that
whole
was-
romance.
that was a different time.
Right.
Now-
That's when courtships weren't synonymous
let
with
me
entanglements,
tell you
Yeah,
something.
or hookups.
hookups,
They
entanglements.
they got some music out there right now. Woo! Triple X.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, look, I'm no prude. I'm married 3 times. I had a lot of ladies. You saw that one, reel with some of the ladies. But come on, okay, we don't have to have it all out in the open. Have a little privacy.
But I'm gonna tell you something. I seen something on YouTube where there's one particular female artist. She has a real nasty song, and one day she was playing it. It was on YouTube, and her kid came out and was listening. She grabbed her kid, snatched her
Oh, I
kid,
saw that. Yes.
Right? and she said she don't want her kid listening to it, but yet you playing it for everybody else's kid, for the masses. And that said something to me right there.
I'll tell you what.
I know.
I'm driving down the highway. I stop at a stop sign, a light rather.
Yeah.
In the next car over from me, the radio was going loud, bing, 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 bing. I have my windows down. The kid in the back seat is maybe 4 years old. He hops around and says, "Let me lick you up and down." Wait.
Uh-huh.
Hold it.
What?
This was a song that was playing.
Wow.
Right. So, when we were coming up, songs were about love and care. And if they were crafty, then they could have been about sex, but you couldn't tell.
No.
You know what I mean? We will sail together in and out of mystery, kind of clever with the lyrics. Those who knew. Those who didn't know didn't pay attention.
And when they used to play music,
Look at the greatest of all time. Look.
Stevie. Oh, yeah. He was my favorite and is still my favorite.
Incredible. And would you believe my first concert at the Spectrum, he opened for the Rolling Stones in '72.
Yeah, he shortly opened at the Grammys.
Yeah, look, we're going to have a lot to talk about, won't we?
oh yeah, definitely. But see, like I said, I just don't want to be put into one hook
Oh,
Or-
no.
or anything else.
All right, look, we're at the 47-minute hour. I think we described who we are, why we're here, and where we're going.
Right.
So I think for this first one, I think I realized for some reason I didn't press a button for it to go out live, but we are recording. We can see I can press end recording and live at 47 minutes. Any closing comments for this first premiere one we're doing?
Well, I would say stay tuned. It's going to get way better.
Oh, yeah.
And like the Carpenters, we've only just begun.
Wonderful. Well, on that note, guys, look forward to the Generate Experience episode 2 coming soon to our Facebook page and YouTube page. And I'll use our phenomenal closing with our video.
Please subscribe. Please put them likes in there and support us, because we got a lot of stuff coming. And just like I said, listen to the song by the Carpenters. We've only just begun.
Share.
You got it, guys. See you next time.
Sure.